When I say the other fellow first, most of you probably have no clue what I'm talking about. However, I'm sure if you sat there and thought about it for a few seconds, you could get a pretty good idea of what it entails. I'm Nicholson, and I was a sleepaway camp counselor. I think I've said this about 150 times since being back at school, but honestly, I don't mind as it is a large amount of time that I spent this summer. So naturally, it became a part of almost every conversation in the first few weeks of school. I've been spending 4 weeks at Camp Dudley in Westport, New York since grade 5 and haven't taken a summer off, with the exception of that one COVID summer and another summer I spent backpacking in the Wind River Range of Wyoming with my Dudley friends. Dudley's motto is the other fellow first and can be found on about every wall and every piece of paper there on campus. This camp of about 300 boys on Lake Champlain is where I believe I became myself. Living in a place where you're free to act and be whoever you want to be is only possible by everyone else putting the other fellow first. I'm sure that many of you have now thought about what those words mean, and instead of asking what you guys think, I'm going to tell you what 3 of my campers told me this summer. Chris told me, you put others before yourself. Luke said, you do little things like helping your mom. And Owen said, it's not just about others, you are the other fellow too. I think those 3 things cover about what 95% of this room was probably thinking. The other fellow first is thinking about your roommate, your teacher, your teammates, and your boyfriend or girlfriend before thinking about yourself. Doing the little things like texting your mom more often and paying for someone else's dinner in town without expecting anything in return, and complimenting your teammate on what a good game or big hit they just had. Even as simple as saying hello to your teachers in the hallways goes a very long way. Little random acts of kindness greatly impact a place like Stansted, and they are all examples of putting the other fellow first. In my last year of being a camper, in 2019, I was the other fellow. I was a very enthusiastic, tall, chubby kid that honestly acted the same way I do now. The only difference is I was very unaware that I was at the beginning of a very difficult battle with mental health. If it wasn't for 2 leaders at my camp putting me before themselves, I'm very certain I would not be in the same place. Through little acts of kindness and a long conversation about their own problems with depression, I became much more aware and comfortable of my newly onset issues. I began to think about myself more than how others saw me. Like Owen said to me this summer, is about giving yourself more respect than you think you deserve. And what I'm getting at is putting others ahead of yourself is not very difficult and can have a big impact on yourself and everyone else around you. Thanks for listening, and I encourage everyone else to put the other fellow first.